Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Welcome back to another episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and by now you know that I'm a sucker for a good Kickstarter. All right, so have I got some news for you? We have not one, we have two creators on the show to talk about their latest issue 5, that's going to hit Kickstarter on the 1st of July. I'm talking to the Raze co-creators, Sam Willis and Tre Primm. Gentlemen, how's it going?
What's going on?
Excellent. Okay, so 5 issues. How's that feel?
It's crazy.
Unreal.
So let's get some credits out of the way. You're both co-creators. Very well
Correct.
done. Sam, you're the writer, and you pulled double duty as letterer.
Correct, yes.
Excellent. And Tre, you're the artist. Is that correct?
Artist and co-writer.
Correct.
Yes.
Excellent. Oh, a Stanley Jack Kirby thing going on here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so 5 issues in. That's a massive achievement. Well done, gents.
Thank you.
For people who have no idea what we're talking about, what's the Raze? Sam.
Okay, so Raze is a horror.
Raze. My accent gets it wrong.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. You can call it whatever you want. So Raze is an action adventure horror comic book. So pretty much where it takes place is you're going to get our main character, Bucky, who has been born with a rare condition, and he's pretty much mankind's last hope. And you're going to kind of see as we go throughout these issues how that's actually going to play out.
All right, okay, cool. Tre, how did you get involved as a co-writer then? Because when I hear co-writers and co-creators, I don't know. It's like, is one guy dialogue? Is one guy story? Do you just throw it all together and hope for the best?
It's equal parts in all aspects of the comic. So it's not like, one person has final say. We both have to green light, an idea, whether it's dialogue or an action point or any, artwork or story point. We both have to kind of sign off on that before it moves to the final product.
So how does that I mean, how did you two meet? How did you two get into the whole idea of creating comic books?
Yeah, we're middle school best friends, so we've been friends for a really long time.
Remember, I'm British. What's middle school?
It's after 6th grade.
Give me an age.
So like 12, 13, I would say we met. So we were really young when we met, and we just loved, we love cinema. We love anything that has any kind of like story that can be told in any medium. So originally I was going to school for video game design, and we wanted to make this into a video game.
All right, I could say that would work.
Super difficult. Was way too complicated.
If you don't know, making a game is very hard.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Look at me. Playing the damn things are hard. Never mind.
So we're like, okay, scratch that off. And we're like, we love, graphic novels. Let's make it into a graphic novel. Also, again, really hard. And then we kind of landed on comic books, and we were just kind of, we've been producing for about 3 years now, but really we wanted to tell this story in any medium we could. And we've always been a fan of comic books. I grew up as a Marvel fan, so I had the coloring book when I was like 4 years old. I know.
I don't mind some Marvel.
But yeah, I don't know. I've always been like a superhero fan, and we have a local comic book store, so I would pick up Marvel, DC, anything I could really get my hands on. And I just became really a huge fan of like the visual aspect, because I think like, what we see in movies now is a lot of adaptations from the comics and the great artists that are able to really like make you feel something after you read 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Yeah. And I became a fan of that. And that's kind of when we chose to go the comic book route.
All right, okay. And Tre, How did that feel for you then? Going comic books. Did you know automatically that you both wrote, but only Tre could draw?
No. So the writing came, and it came very late.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of renditions that we kind of went through before we have the product you guys see now. So when we first started, co-writing this thing many years ago, I mean, we've been writing this for 15 years, I think now. We started way back then. So over time, it just kind of, eventually got better and better, and more kind of work went into that. So that was more of a curve than the drawing, I would say. I mean, I'm still kind of learning the whole drawing aspect of this because I plan on being the artist, but it's certainly a journey on both sides.
So, Tre, Sam's dropped the M word into a conversation. What's your comic tastes lean towards?
Gotcha. So I guess I didn't have like a niche kind of genre that I was interested in. It's not, I wasn't like loyal to, let's say, Marvel or DC or any sort of, brand or company of comics. It was just really this wide genre of comics I was into. More so, very similar to him when he mentioned movies, is I love movies as a kid. I watched a lot of horror movies as a kid. I probably shouldn't have, but back then, realizing that a lot of the movies were based on a book or a comic, kind of what kind of got me back around to that. It's just a different level of storytelling that I did.
All right. Okay, so let me ask you this question then, because in my house, Mrs. H and our daughter, they both love horror movies. Mm-hmm. Me, I can. To be fair, the ones with poltergeist scare the crap out of me. But anything else, I'm like, as soon as the music changes, I'm like, yeah, there's a dude behind the door. Right. So, first of all, question comes in two parts, right? First of all, your favorite horror movie, Sam and Tre. Second part of the question: how hard is it to do horror in comic books when you think that the movies have so much more atmosphere with the music and the kind of the suspense building up? So it's really hard, I think, to do horror in comics really well. So first of all, favorite movies, and then the horror aspect. Sam, do you want to start us off on that one?
Yeah. So kind of too, just because like the first one I'll mention, because I watched, same as him, I watched horror movies when I was really, really young. Don't recommend.
Just stick to Sesame Street, kids.
Yes, absolutely. But mine, it was always the Robert Englund, the first Nightmare on Elm Street when I was a kid. That scared the crap out of me. For the second one, just because it's me and Tre's favorite one, and it's really underrated. I don't think a lot of people have seen it, is Grave Encounters, which has to kind of do with the poltergeist, but it definitely has like a really good spin on it that I would. But yeah, I would say those two. Only Nightmare on Elm Street because it was my. You never forget your first. I mean, let's be real.
On that note, all right, Tre.
I'd say my necessarily favorite, but like kind of the opposite of his. My favorite horror movies were the Michael Myers movies because me, I love at least something more of like a realism spin on things. And granted, some things aren't as real, but just the idea of just this one guy who's just so kind of messed up and just goes in this killing spree just always was like, wow.
That was,
I
bet it never happened in hockey season. That's what I'm saying. So the second part of the question then, how hard is it to create a horror comic that without that sort of like the additional information, the additional sensory stuff that you get in the movie? Tre, as artist, you can start with this one and then we'll jump to Sam.
So like you said, the things with like music really add to horror elements in movies and things like that. With a comic, because it's something you're reading, you really just kind of have to put everything out there. A lot of movies tend to obscure things when the movie, because they're messing with like, different tones and shades, and colors and things like that. But you really just have to, whatever it is you're trying to scare the reader with, you have to put it up front and in their face just so they can kind of, comprehend and visualize and see exactly what it is that they're looking at that's going to freak them out.
Cool. And for Sam, I imagine there's going to be that key moment, that sort of like you've got to plot for the page turn moment to be the jump scare.
Absolutely.
So
yes. So we always talk about is like as much as we love these tropes, I think we try to, I wouldn't say stray away from, but we don't try to hit it on every corner because like the worst feeling I would say is when you're watching a horror movie and you can predict what's going to happen. It really is the shock value that I think needs to be implemented more. So people don't predict what you're gonna when you flip the page that you know what's gonna happen. You know, I would say for the horror aspect of comics and something that we're trying to do is I would say a lot of these horror movies have this environment that just is scary, like it's almost otherworldly. And I think that's what we try to implement is when people get issue 5, you're gonna see the darker tone I think we're going for moving forward with this comic.
All right, that's a really good shout actually. When you think, I think like films like Sinister, there's always, we've just moved into the house that's surrounded by nobody.
Exactly.
Oh, there's always a basement with a rattly grate.
Exactly.
All right, okay, so I have to agree with Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. Absolutely tip top. As I say, I'm not a big fan of possessions movies. So, which one? Paranormal Activity.
That's a good one.
Yeah, the first one really
doesn't seem like it's scary, right up until the moment she gets pulled off the bed. Right, and for anybody who sleeps with the bedclothes half off, like a certain somebody, 2 nights after watching that movie, I didn't get any sleep. So thanks. Cheers. Appreciate that. All right. So this is, we've got up on the screen, Raze. See, I said it right this time.
Absolutely.
I'll learn. All right. This is issue 1, correct?
Correct, yes.
Correct, Amundo. I'm guessing you've used a lot of red on this book then.
You'll be surprised we don't actually use that much red.
All right, so straight off, Golden Gate Bridge, yes?
Yep.
Yes. Or Bear Mountain Bridge. Facsimile of. Interesting start. There's not a lot going on. It's kind of, and then conversations lead forward. How, when you write as a pair, do you kind of think linearly, I can't say it. Do you think in a straight line, or do you think, right, this is the key moment? How do we get there? Sam, first entry.
I would say for this is any way we do our issues, it's kind of like it's a 1, 2, 3 act. So I feel like we kind of you're gonna have your middle part, and that's obviously what we're trying to build up into. But you'll see as you go through these issues, you're going to see little things that come up that either complicate that, benefit it. And that's kind of how we go about it. And it's a lot of rewrites. I mean, when we do these issues, I mean, this issue in particular took maybe 2 years to produce just because we did a full issue 1 and we're like, yo, this is crap. And we're just like, throw it away.
No.
Yes, absolutely.
Never throw it away, man.
And then we were just like, okay, what can we do different and how can we simplify it? And that's kind of what you get from this issue, I would say.
I know, but I mean, Trey, you've got to think 4 issues. I mentioned it before, right? That's for Kickstarter. That's a successful turnout, isn't it?
I think so. Absolutely.
So how gratifying is it for you guys then when you see all this work you've put in? Issue 1 took 2 years. I'm hoping you start getting better at it after a while, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, we're this year is all about ramping up, and that's kind of what we're trying to really hone down on.
So I mean, how does, I suppose the learning process, it comes in very much like the act of your book, to be honest. The fact is, you get better at production. You get better at collaborating together. The art gets better. Is that how it happens? Is that how it coalesces together?
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error. I mean, like you said, it took us quite a while to get issue 1 down. We're kind of speeding up with the issues that come later, but a lot of the stuff because, you know, we're new at this, and I always say because we've gone to events and people have come up to us and asked us, you know, where do I start? How do I do this? And I'm just thinking, listen, I don't really know myself. You know, we're just kind of doing it, and then, you know, we'll make a mistake, we'll learn from that, we'll keep going. That's just really all you got to do is just do it. You know, a lot of this is just, you know, trial and error. Does this work? Does this not work?
All right, okay, cool. Good shout. Good shout. So influences, we've talked a little bit about comic books and movies, and then so who are your influences? Who's the kind of things that that kind of help you get to where you want to be? Where should we go first? Trey, and feel free to include artists on this because I'm always intrigued how art develops.
Gotcha. So myself, things that inspired me because I did read a lot of American comics as a kid, and more towards that middle school era, the 13-year-old me, I read a lot of the Japanese comics, the mangas, and so the style that they use, their form of storytelling that they do, resonate with me a bit more. I know traditionally they do longer stories.
So, what sort of school were you going to if manga represents your school? Short skirts.
Well, that's the thing. That's when it was getting popular in the States because before it wasn't as popular. And then when I was a kid, you know, it was very rare that somebody read it or watched it. You know, nowadays it's very mainstream. Everybody knows about it. But back in the day, I was one of the very few people who actually read these, you know. So that's just most of my inspiration is watching those and reading those.
Yeah, it's actually a great point, isn't it? It's a different style of storytelling. Yeah, so there are. Yeah, I think I'm going to show a little bit of this book here just to kind of prove my point. With a horror book where it's more where the story can be more intimate, you need good faces, don't you?
Oh yeah.
You're not relying on like the cape and cowl dynamic poses and all that sort of stuff. So I think you've absolutely, you know, this page is a great example of that, and that comes from manga and Japanese comic books, isn't it? The big eyes and the big expressive faces. So, Sam, what about yourself? Where's your
oh man, I mean it's kind of like a wide reach of different inspirations because I'll see something and I'm thinking like that's really cool and I love that. And I think for the most part, just because I think like back in the day, and this is even before my time, is one of my inspirations was Stan Lee, just because I feel like, you know, when anyone talks about Marvel, he's kind of like the umbrella and everyone kind of follows right below him with all the great artists and all, I guess, the thought-provoking like characters in the comics. Like as far as like Black Panther, Peter Parker, like really just thinking outside the box when it comes to certain characters. And I think that's trial and error too. And to add on to Trey, I'm also like I didn't get into mangas till very later in my life, but I watched a lot of animes too, and I didn't even know that there was a Japanese side of comic books till way later. I thought it was just like a show, and then I'm like, holy crap, these are actual like comics. Let me go read them. And now I find myself at work reading more mangas than I'm reading American comic books.
Cool, excellent. It's interesting. I hear a lot of people say how much manga is so much impactful in places. I watched some of the animation. I can't read the comic books mainly because I haven't got time to read normal comics. Never mind anything else.
Yeah, they require more dedication because, like I said, they're longer stories. It's not just here's a 10 issue story here. This is like a hundreds of issues for one story. You know.
Yeah, that would do my head in. I'd like 6 issues next, please. Thanks. Obviously, I've been acclimatized. I've been assimilated, haven't I? Like the Borg in Star Trek. Yeah, resistance is futile. You will like everything that's a bat. So yes, sir. Excellent. So 5-ish. I'm really impressed. I am really impressed. How quick did the last Kickstarter get funded?
So this is actually our first Kickstarter. So
what?
Yeah.
So where did the other 4 issues come from?
They came from these hands and this brain. Not really these hands, because I didn't do much on the art side, but
Did you? At least you stapled the book together, right?
Oh yeah. Oh well, no. I mean, we hired someone to do that. No, I mean we so we kind of took the approach of let's just put these out and see how they do. Without kind of, I don't think I would say in the last 2 years, we haven't had a huge social media presence. And now this year we've been kind of like turning that over. And I've been doing a lot of the marketing, a lot of promotion on all the different social media platforms we're on. So pretty much is this year was about getting our name out there. And then I started to see the indie platform use Kickstarter as almost like a ladder to reach more eyes. And that's when I'm like, yeah, we got to do a Kickstarter. And we're like, we're already 4 issues in, so let's do issue 5 as a Kickstarter. But we're also going to have a lot of inclusion with the other issues in case you haven't read the issues. So
yeah,
it's going to feel like a Kickstarter for 5, but it's also going to have a lot of other rewards that have to do with everything else we've come out with to date.
All right. Okay. That's interesting. So, we've got the links to your website there across the bottom of the screen. All right. So from there, you can drop onto any type of social media you've got going on there. Which I noticed. Oh, you're on Global Comics.
Correct. Yes.
How's that as a process?
Oh, awesome. I mean, those guys over there are super easy to talk to and really helpful. When I first joined, they actually invited me to a Discord server, and it's like for all creators if they have any questions. I mean, it's super insightful. And I think since joining Global Comics, we almost have 5,000 page reads. And that's the most eyes we've ever received in the 2.5 years we've been producing issues. So
okay. Well, I'm sure Chris will be happy to hear you say that. Prior to interviewing,
this is not a sponsor.
Well, let me just go a little bit further. If you have no idea what Global Comics is, go back to the Outside the Panels menu, because the interview before this one was with Chris Carter.
Oh, dang. Nice.
That's it. Serendipity. It works every time.
All up from there.
It all works, right? So do you prefer, is the aim then, let me ask you this question then, and I suppose it links to the Global Comics bit again. Is the aim to make comics accessible, dependent, regardless of how you like to partake in it? I'm an old school guy, right? As you can tell by my lovely grey beard. No comments. I like to hold a comic. Yeah, I like 22 pages. Thanks very much. Yeah,
absolutely.
But then there's a whole host of people that prefer it digitally. There's people who prefer it in trade paperbacks. Is the idea here to create Raze as a multi-reading book, or is your focus one or the other?
I would say for this, we want people to access our book on any front. So we are on Amazon too. So if you click that link that you just shared, you're going to be able to get paperback too. So we're on, I think, all fronts. Whatever your preference is, we're gonna try to supply it. I think as far as our storytelling goes, is me and Trey are just normal dudes. We work 40 hours a week just like anybody else, and we're doing this in our spare time. And the goal really is to do this full time, to work on our comics, to get paid for it and be able to live comfortably, and to come out with issues like that. We want to come out. We want you to be fully immersed in this story because we got a lot of story to tell.
Cool. Excellent. So there you go. There is the page on the screen for you. You've got the links to Global Comics. You've got the links to Amazon. You've got the links to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok?
Yes, sir. We're on all platforms. Any way we can share our book, we will.
Yeah. I don't want to see the "Why Aren't You in Uniform" videos. Thanks, guys. All right. Whilst we get ready for another round of questions, time for one of our adverts. I can't believe I have to play this one. Oh, man. I suppose you've mentioned the M word. So here we go. Here's our advert for our Marvel show, the No Prize Podcast. Check it out. There you go, No Prize Podcast for everything Marvel. That includes Disney Plus and the MCU. So yeah, there's a lot of love for Obi-Wan, and of course we've got Thor 4 coming up very, very soon. I'm sure that'll get the once over at least once. Can't be worse than Doctor Strange, can it? Yeah, I don't know why I said that. I'm really, really sorry. I don't know how that happened.
Hey,
you might have a cough or something going
on. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. You know, my wife loved the second Doctor Strange movie. I was like, Strange. I didn't see a Doctor Strange movie. I went to see a Wonder movie. What can I say? Right, excellent. Okay, so let's get some more information. So you've got a landing page. Let's have a look at that. Share. It's like I've done this before, isn't it? There we are. Boom. This is your landing page. When does your Kickstarter go live?
July 1st.
July 1st.
So fingers crossed everything goes right, but we're trying to get up and running by July 1st.
Cool. Excellent. So what there's a notify me on launch there. So if you're interested in the Kickstarter, you just run yourself over the Kickstarter. That's fine. Type in Raze, spell it that way, not the other way, and it'll take you there. You can click the there. Remind me on launch. Then you'll be able to pledge funds. What sort of extras are your stretch goals are you aiming for?
Honestly, so initially when we release we're trying to raise $2,000, and we're trying to put that right back into the comic if we reach that goal. Okay. Some of the stretch goals are pretty exciting because we're actually working with a lot of different indie creators, so we're gonna send out some different books that aren't our own. So we're gonna do a little indie bundle. So if anybody's interested in reading something a little bit different than Raze, we're gonna have a lot of people I've met on Twitter, and people have some really cool stories that are trying to come out as well.
Do you think, again, this is for both of you, do you think that we're in an absolute creative, beautiful space when it comes to indie comics? Because I think now with the lack of vertigo, I think a lot of people are taken to indie comics from all different types of publishers and programs and projects.
Yeah, from what I've seen is a lot of the indie comics that I've been seeing are like super original and very different from anything I've picked up before. I think you have a lot of people who want some limelight and are trying to really push the bar of creativity forward. And you can kind of see it in a lot of their work. I mean, I've told my co-creator we got to up our game because I've been seeing a lot of awesome books, man. A lot of awesome books. And the people that I've met with these books are even nicer. And it's crazy. I mean, people they just want their name heard, you know?
Yeah. Are you up for the challenge then, Trey?
Oh, always.
Yeah,
I definitely say the indie comic community is definitely, there's a lot of variety to it, as you probably imagine. You know, there's a story out there for everybody. And I know there's always the big two that tries to incorporate and make everything very inclusive, which is great. But sometimes, you know, you're taking one aspect and you're kind of including that into your story, and then the indie community just has so many stories for so many different people and so many different ways to do it too. You know?
I think the metaphor, I know I've mentioned him already, but it's the Doctor Strange movie, right? Because Sam Raimi's the director. Now, Sam Raimi, you expect to have horror, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you have a horror director like Sam Raimi and then water him down to have a 12 rating for a movie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, Trey, whilst you're correct, the big two do tend to try and incorporate indie creators at some point. It does still feel a little bit watered down because they're not able to go the whole hog.
It's still very formulaic, you know?
Yeah, exactly. In the fact that I suppose the benefit of writing big two books is that you get brand recognition straight away.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, even bad Batman books sell. You know?
I mean, if I wrote a story about Batman being a dinosaur, I don't think anybody else would read it.
No, I've read that. I reviewed it.
Yeah, and that's an actual book.
No.
What happened? You don't like dinosaur Batman?
No, I did not like dinosaur Batman. No, I did not. I just didn't like it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. You know?
Okay. I agree with you. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, this is ridiculous. But I mean, there's a story for everybody, even dinosaur lovers.
Really? You're not going to get the job at DC by bigging up the Jurassic League. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, you open up your own studio. It's just Jurassic World with DC characters.
I know, but the last Jurassic movie sucks as well. Oh, man.
Isn't it called the DCU for a reason? Dinosaur Cinematic Universe?
Yeah, that's right. Of course, yeah. Dinosaurs, carnivores.
Who killed Batman's parents in that version? Did they explain?
They haven't explained it yet, I don't think. I'll be honest, I've only seen the first issue, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not watching it. I'm not doing it.
You're like me. Listen, I won't keep going. If I don't like something, I stop right then and there. I don't care how far along I am. If I don't keep going, I stop.
Well, for me, I'm very similar to you in that I love Batman. I love the whole Batman characters and stuff like that. But if there's a bad Batman book out there, I'm not wasting my money on this. I'd rather, instead of buying a bad version of Batman, I'd rather try something different. I'll go to the indie publishers and I'll try something that's like, I suppose I'm going to use the P word in this. I'm somewhat privileged because I write reviews for Comic Crusaders, our sister site. Mm-hmm. So the amount of comic books that fly through my desk on any given week, and I'll say, I'll review them, and if I like them, which I've done loads of times, I'll go out and hunt the actual issues down and put them on my pull list, because it's not, if someone's done something that I really, really like, well, they deserve my money, not just my attention.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what being a fan is. Being a fan is not being just buying everything they make just because it has Batman's name on it. A Batman fan is going to let you know when you don't like something,
Yeah, that's why. Don't even get me started on the Batman movies. My take will shock you, I promise.
Are you a Batfleck or are you?
Well, that's not the question that always gets me into trouble. The question gets me into trouble is when I turn around and I say things like, "Well, do you know The Dark Knight Rises? That's a worse film than Batman and Robin." That's what gets me into trouble. Sam's like, "What?"
I will say I haven't seen Batman and Robin, but I do know there is kind of like this disconnect, because I feel like, I don't know, like for me personally, when you watch like your first superhero movie or when you're a little bit younger and then you kind of see these like renditions that you didn't want, it's hard. it's hard to be like, hey, you could say that's cool, but I mean, it's very few times I ever see remakes and they have like this like emotional meaning to me. Like I'm seeing a story done again, and you really got to do something special for me. Like, that's cool, and I love it.
Spider-Man, looking at you.
I liked Into the Multiverse. I thought that was exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the whole animation style. I thought the voice actors. I'm not a huge Miles Morales fan, but I was invested from scene one all the way through. It was absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, they did something crazy different that no one expected. So, I mean, when you kind of go that far creatively, I think it will pay off. Just has to have a good story too. If the animation was great and you're like, oh, this story kind of sucks, I don't think people would like it as much.
Yeah. But the hook was at the start when you realised that the Peter Parker that dies isn't our Peter Parker. You know, like, what? What's going on? So yeah, I really liked that. I really liked it a lot. The Batman, I enjoyed the Robert Pattinson Batman. You know,
same.
I'm glad we didn't see his parents get killed again.
Yeah, no, we didn't need that.
Yeah. How's he going around again? Oh yeah, his parents got killed. Yeah, cool. But here's an interesting thing. I got into a conversation about the movie, and someone says, "Oh, Doctor Strange is better because it makes more money." I'm like, "Yeah, Doctor Strange is aimed at everyone. Batman's aimed at 15 plus." Over here, you had to prove your age to get in to see Batman. So that was crazy.
This is true, but I feel like too is like people need to realize like Marvel already has the millions of fans that are going to keep giving them revenue. It's a little bit harder when, I mean, DC hopefully moving forward past the Batman starts killing it, but I think the last good movie, in my opinion, was Shazam, and that wasn't like a great movie, but it was a good movie, and everything before that was like kind of didn't go that well for a lot of the fans. So I mean, it's easier for Marvel. I mean, they're pumping out content every like month now. So
it's an interesting metaphor. Think about from my point of view, at least. I feel that Marvel movies are plug and play. Do you remember that phrase?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think if you could take out characters out of Marvel movies and replace them with other characters, nothing would change.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a very fair assumption.
It is.
It's
fair. That's what I'm looking for.
I mean, the DC movies might not be as successful as the Marvel movies, but you look at the different movies you've got. You've got the Birds of Prey. You've got, you've got Batman, the Batfleck Batman stuff. You've got Joker. You know, then you've got the Batman. You know, each film has a different tone.
Yeah,
and I'm all right with that. I'm all right.
Oh, same.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing. That you shouldn't want to see 6 movies and all of them feel the same.
Exactly.
It's a waste of a movie ticket, if I'm being honest.
All right, and then let's pull this back to you two. Then, isn't that what you two are doing with your book, giving us something different?
Oh, giving us something different, yes.
Yeah, I'm giving you a compliment.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we're doing something same every time.
We're not doing anything different. No. No, but this is what indie creators like you guys are doing. You're going, pardon the phrase, balls to the wall, doing the book you want to do, the story you want to do, with the influences that have shaped you to this point. That's got to be worth someone's attention.
Oh, 100%. I mean, even if it's not worth anyone's attention, it's fun to do it. I mean, it's fun to go into each issue and be like, how can we make this different from the last?
I think you're underselling yourselves massively, personally. Well, all right, okay. You laugh at me. That's fine. It's fine. Laugh at me.
No,
I've reviewed over nearly 1,500 comic books for Comic Crusaders. So that's across the board. That's not just Marvel or DC. That's Marvel, DC, Kickstarters, indie books, small publishers, AWA, Dark Horse, IDW. I think I know comics a little bit.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do.
He's like, yeah, of course you do if you're saying something good. Saying something bad. Excellent. How long is the series going to run? How long have you got it plotted for? We've got 4 issues done. You can see it on the multimedia. You've got 5th coming to Kickstarter the 1st of July. How long is the series?
That's a loaded question. It's not a very clear answer. So there is an end in sight. So we do have an end for the story. That's going to happen at some point. I can't say when.
Okay.
Back to the way that we write our issues it's what they call very in the moment. You know, we're not just kind of doing one thing here, then we're going to, skip ahead a little bit to where they get to the next spot. It's very like every single action that brought them there.
All right, okay.
So it's really more about how many issues do we need to get one point across or to get to one point in the story. So also going back to the whole manga thing is them being these long stories is it's going to be one continuous consecutive multi-issue story. So
Okay.
I don't have a time frame or an exact issue count just yet, but there is an end in sight, and then we'll, as we go along, we'll know when we'll be close.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd have a question there. When you think about that kind of detail, when you talk about, you know, how you get from this character to that action to that action, does that make the books continuity heavy to keep the characters within their own sense of framework?
I would say in a way, yes, but the only thing is, so when you pick up Raze, you're going to notice that we have a lot of characters. We're not going the traditional route of a comic where there's one character and you get all this alone time with them. The way we try to do it is whatever the story is, we're going to figure out what character demands it the most. So you're going to get spotlight with each character, and you're going to see, I would say, certain arcs are going to shed some light on more characters than not. But everyone's going to get their chance, and there is a main character. And the way we try to write it is, you know, it doesn't make sense to show 8 characters on this page. It doesn't make sense to show, you know, 6 characters on this page. Like, what can we do that feels like a personal story while seeing the characters that are needed?
Okay, that's a good shout. It's so kind of like the movie Crash, where each character has their own little spotlight that links into a bigger tapestry.
Yeah, so you're going to see kind of like there's going to be certain people, like there's going to be certain dynamics with maybe 2 characters, and then it will lead over into some other characters and what they're doing. I think the beautiful thing about Raze is it really is like you get this melting pot of characters, and there's going to be someone for everybody. You know, it's so you got to get your choice on who's going to be your favorite, who do you like, what relationship you want to see play out, which is why I'm a fan.
Well, you said the F word, so I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask the question. Who's your favorite character?
Whew, that's hard.
That is tough.
Bearing in mind, you know what's going to happen to them, but so
yeah, so I would have to say it's a tie between 2. Just because I love humor and we try to interject it into Raze where it makes sense. I would say Ian because he's just a raging a-hole. And then I would say Frankie because this dude's an alcoholic. He says whatever comes to his mind. And I feel like that's kind of me sometimes. So I'm the embodiment of this man sometimes. But we've done so much with these characters. They make me laugh the most. And that's what's the important thing, to have fun with this project at the end of the day.
Good call, Trey.
I would have to say Ian as well, just for the fact of he's that person or the character where the thing that you always want to say in your head that you can't really say, the things you want to do that you're not really going to do, he is that character. He is that release that gets you say, you know what, that's what I wish I could have done in that moment. That's
All right, Ian's that guy. All right, excellent. All right, cool. So give us your elevator pitch. Why should people be checking the launch for July 1st? Why should they be checking the previous links on Global and so on to get their book? Give us your 2-minute elevator pitch for Raze.
I'll go first, Trey.
People should pick up Raze because, like I said, we are an indie creator. We put our heart and soul into this book. You know, we did everything we possibly can to make sure we make the most interesting story for people to read. You know, we just sincerely hope from the bottom of our heart that you guys enjoy reading it as much as we do love making it. So, you know, there's something out there for everybody, and then stop on by. We hope that this is something for you.
Well said.
Beautiful. Yeah. So
what he said.
What he said. Mic drop. Yeah, to kind of piggyback that, I mean, if you're a horror fan, if you're an action fan, if you like really awesome visuals, you're gonna love issue 5. We've tried to really push the limits of what we can do creatively on these pages. All thanks to Trey and our beautiful team that we work with. We really tried to just push what we can do. And if you're a fan of just good storytelling and some over-the-top characters, you're going to get that in issue 5.
There you go. All right, so let's run this one more time. There you go. There is the link. Click the link and you can see all the interactions with the guys and Raze. Okay, excellent. For the Kickstarter, just type Raze Comics into Kickstarter. That'll get you to where you need to be. Alternatively, you can pause the video and type all that lot in. Good luck. Watch out for the semicolon. It'll get you every time. And then finally, if you want to keep a more immediate interest in the book, you Twitter me, is that right?
Yeah, that's our Twitter.
Yeah.
That's the one we're most active on, I would say.
Yeah, cool. So you always check the guys out at Twitter for interactions, updates around the comic. There you go. There you go, gents. All done and done.
All
Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No, I am absolutely impressed with the level of creativity that's gone into these books. Absolutely very impressed. I think you do fantastic on Kickstarter.
Thank you.
I'm going to click the link to let me know when it's coming because,
Oh, I got you.
yeah, I'm like, I want to know when that's going live. So thank you so much for spending time. I know it's a hectic time for you. You know, we've all got day jobs and you're doing this as well. So, well, good
hey,
job.
we make time. We make time.
Yeah, time zones allowing and all that, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know more about time zones than Dr. Bloody Who. That's what I want to say. All right. Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite shows. You saw the advert earlier. It's the No Prize Podcast, which drops every alternate Tuesday. And of course, you can always check out TDC, the Definitive Crusade, for everything that's DC, just to keep the balance fair. Yeah. All right. Sam, thank you very much. Trey, thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. I've been your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and as always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.shop, all about comic pop culture.